Ladies and gentlemen, I give to you the future of documentaries, the Sarkeesian effect.
Stop or I'll shoot. Stop.
Yeah, you couldn't have scripted such a tragic fail if you'd have wanted to. I mean, this is getting on the Darwin level awards of fail.
I would start with the premise that all women are whores.
And yet, trying to meet women, trying to talk to them, they have the bitchiest, the most foul attitude in the world.
Seriously, even if Shakespeare himself had come back from the grave to pen this, he would have struggled to compose such a tragedy of fail, even if Michael Bay had then turned it into another Transformers movie. So a brief background. Jordan Owen is a musician, went to a fairly prestigious music school, and he was going to be the producer.
This ultimate response to the social justice warrior agenda will be a groundbreaking work of investigative journalism.
And then there's David Sorini, who claimed to be as good a video editor as anyone in Hollywood.
When the mediator commented to somebody else that Davis is as fast at editing as anybody I know in Hollywood. I know all the keyboard shortcuts. I am very, very quick with editing.
And he was meant to be directing the film and doing the editing.
But Jordan and I, we already make high-quality YouTube videos. With this project, we're taking it to the next level. We're going to be traveling all over the US and Canada. We are going to be doing proper investigative journalism. We're going to create a high-quality product that will go down in the annals of history as a high-quality documentary that, with any luck, changes the world.
And between them, they made Owen Orini Productions. And with $15,000 a month, they were going to make the Sarkeesian Effect documentary. This is their story. Coming this summer, a plucky duo with a story about friendship.
Jordan and I represent a wide range of views. Nonetheless, we're good friends.
From two people, where each one says the other cannot make the movie.
Between us and our team, we have the requisite skills to put together a really good documentary.
I am intimidated by this project. There is no chance in hell that Owen can pull this together.
Davis cannot deliver a high-quality production to you.
And they're bestest of friends who can tolerate differences of opinion.
Quite frankly, we disagree on almost every hot-button topic that there is. Nonetheless, we're good friends.
Until one compares the other to a wannabe mass murderer of women.
Go watch Jordan's video on Rooch. It's an hour long and it's very tedious, but you'll see these occasional glimpses of Elliot Rodger. And in December, this kind of spilled over. He wound up going completely Elliot Rodgers as I was driving him to the airport.
And the other calls him a blackmailer, causing them to break up.
He threatened me with blackmail and extortion. He demanded that I send him $4,000 in exchange for his silence.
Because that's what you do when someone absconds with all the cash and goes full Macintosh.
And then a few weeks later, absconded with all the money and told me I'm fired. Basically, he went full Macintosh.
You know, when a guy cracks like that, when he goes full Macintosh, I don't think there's anything you can do.
We're going to create a high-quality product that will go down in the annals of history.
Oh my gosh, I think we've gone full Macintosh.
And all while you're threatening to sue the other guy.
By the way, Davis, who do you think, and I'm sorry to get a bit emotional, but anyway, who do you think helped me draft that cease and desist letter that you got back in March? Michael was originally helping me get set to sue you.
And if no one else is going to do it, you're going to have to sue each other.
I could arguably take him to court and deny him the ability to do anything with the footage because we were in a binding contract, and he, not only is he smearing my character and lying about me, he's also breaking the contract that we had as business partners.
If, as Michael suggests, we need to raise a war chest in the event that we're sued, I think the backers, and more Gamergaters as well, will be willing to chip in for that.
Then after only about a week of comparing each other to serial killers and threatening to sue each other, they're bestest of buddies again.
Good news, everybody. Owen Arini Productions is back in business.
Along with the presence of a mediator.
It's that time we've got a mediator.
Mediator, Michael.
The mediator
Who is on board to ensure that such a breakup doesn't happen again, only for the production to break up a couple of months later, and the animator, who is bloody brilliant until he's utterly crap.
And the third guy we have is the animator. But this guy's doing some pretty bloody good work so far, and I think it's been $4,500 that we've paid the artist. And for that, all we have to show for it are a couple of still frame images and a completely useless animation that was so bad, but this thing was so embarrassing, can't handle it. $4,500 wasted on that. But this guy's doing some pretty bloody good work so far.
Comes a documentary about ethics and journalistic standards.
The American Society of Professional Journalists has 4 core ethical standards that their members are expected to follow. While we're not a part of this organization, we will embrace these principles. The first is seek the truth and report it.
And nothing says journalistic ethics like publishing the Skyblogs to try and smear the other guy, even when those self-same Skyblogs show that you would be happy to write a glowing review of whatever movie Owen made, even though you said he couldn't make a good movie.
I think he's planning to put his own movie together over the next month, which is just patently absurd.
If only he would give you $2,500. Make it $2,500 and I will make my own movie with a different title. I'll also write a glowing review of what you're doing and explain it as differences in artistic direction with no animosity. Damn, now that's what I call journalistic ethics.
That is a true Shakespearean comedy, in my eyes. Jordan's been a little bit hostile anytime I've exchanged emails with him, so I don't tend to send him that many emails.
He replies, "Then link me to the fucking video, you incompetent buffoon. You should have sent me these goddamn files over 2 months ago, and even now you fail to send them correctly. Also send me the rendered version again so I know how you cut them. Idiot. Sorry, did my tone trigger you? Consider this a trigger warning. Behave promptly and competently in the future and I won't be forced to point out how incompetent you are." He needed me to send him again the file that he had already just received that he said he didn't want.
Comes a documentary where no one knows how to white balance a camera.
To the matter of the white balance, this is what Davis keeps doing.
And he said, well, actually, I do know how to set the white balance. I had to remind Arini several times.
So when I say that I had to keep reminding him about the white balance,
and I'm not ready to set the white balance. He asked if I've set it yet.
Davis does not know fuck all about filmmaking.
He doesn't know how to set the white balance. But if you look at his recent videos, the camera's not even white balanced because he doesn't know how to do that.
Even though they're both sat there discussing why they're going to be on Bill Maher while the camera isn't white balanced.
Like, he doesn't know how to set the white balance on his cameras. Just go look at the videos where he's all pink.
Well, hello.
How's it going, folks?
Howdy. So, for the first time ever, Owen and Arini are together in one room. He's saying if we played our cards right, we could be interviewed on The Daily Show.
And not as the guest to be ridiculed, but the guest to joke with.
Yeah, actual friendly guest.
Yes, right presentation, this could be Daily Show.
But yeah, I mean, this could be like, we could be on Bill Maher. We could be on Last Week Tonight. Flip it around, we could be on Fox News. We could be on, Red Eye, Fox and Friends. All across the board, CNN, MSNBC, like this could really get out there.
What sort of unprofessional idiot decides to tell people before the movie's done about how terrible all the camera work is?
That's right, Davis. You should definitely keep the bad camera work a secret. That's definitely the ethical and professional thing to do.
The first is seek the truth and report it.
That way you can surprise your backers when they pay to see it at the movies.
Point number 4 of his is that I'm apparently really bad at making movies. I don't know how to do camera angles, I don't know how to do white balance, etc., etc.
Now I wonder where people could have gotten hold of such a crazy idea.
You know, we want to keep that quiet until the movie comes out.
We're not just coming up with a good rhetorical structure for this movie.
Yeah.
We're actually coming up with some really, really interesting, like not just, we've got lots of interviews with very smart, poignant.
A man so dedicated to making this film that he's cut out absolutely everything to streamline his life, except blogging, writing, YouTube videos, podcasts, haircuts, low sodium Velveeta, and of course not drinking scotch.
And I've just completely streamlined my life so that I can focus basically full time on this, as well as writing and doing the YouTube videos, which I regularly do, and the podcasts.
Even though the backers have paid him full time to work on the movie.
Right from the outset, we've said, like, a part of this, it is a full-time job, so there is going to be a living stipend.
A documentary where legitimate criticism immediately becomes invalid because a social justice warrior brings it up.
Or the legitimate criticisms because we were under budget. Or maybe I really am just a terrible filmmaker. Any way you put it, it's the SJWs are the ones that put this into his head.
Seriously, if social justice warriors put the idea that water is wet into your head, then that concept immediately becomes invalid. From a man who understands how stupid it would be to say that the camera work is terrible on this movie.
SJWs are the ones that put this into his head. And again, even if it's completely true, what sort of unprofessional idiot decides to tell people before the movie's done about how terrible all the camera work is?
But can't see why comparing his partner to a wannabe serial killer of women might hurt the release. Or saying that his partner has a condition called encopresis, which means he shits his pants. And he can't see why throwing his partner under the bus over a medical condition might hurt the project.
Jordan openly admits to having a stress disorder, a panic disorder. He's on the highest possible dosage of anti-anxiety meds.
Comes a documentary about a con artist feminist made by a con artist.
Davis Arini, I will emphasize one last time, is a con man. And he is trying to con all of you out of money.
And a man who may kill himself.
Considering that it was massive mental issues that drove Owen to grenade the project the last time around, I'm wondering if after he's basically embarrassed himself at Gamergate in Atlanta next week, like, if there's a risk that he might decide to commit suicide or something. Is this going to be like a final sequence of events that drives him to basically end it all? I mean, I don't want to sound like I'm reveling in this or being, like, gossipy or whatever. I genuinely do worry about the guy's mental health.
You know what, man? I tell you, one of the worst parts about all of this for me is that I actually genuinely cared about the guy. And you're asking if he's going to commit suicide? He is committing suicide every day. Every day is an exercise in self-loathing and self-hatred.
You know, look at the insane accusations he's making. And I don't say this to deride him or anything. I don't know what he's going to say next. It's going to be something completely ridiculous and counterfactual, but I have no idea what the next lie is going to be. Quite frankly, the guy has gone full Macintosh.
To convince your parents that a crazy feminist criticizing games is important because, reasons.
First of all, the target demographic that we're hoping to reach with this movie. It is our parents. My dad in particular is actually who I'm thinking about whenever I'm putting all of this together. Remember who this movie is for, though. This movie is for our parents, for people that don't play video games, that think video games are silly, to explain to them why they should care about some woman critiquing video games.
From a man dedicated to not letting his social justice warriors see the film.
Well, it's sort of like a legal case. When you're going to a court of law, you don't want to tell the other side what your argument is before you make it.
And so there's no way I can actually show you the first 25 minutes that I now have in rough draft.
Who then uploads half of the film, because that totally makes sense.
I hope that you like what you see with the bit I put out there, the first 40 minutes.
A movie that has the social justice warriors terrified.
Even the SJWs, they complain about the editing, which is hilarious, because it's bloody good editing, in fact. Both Jordan and myself have just been getting hammered from these social justice warriors, which has just been making both of us more and more belligerent, and quite frankly, we wound up taking it out on each other, and then taking it out on the project. This thing is really starting to scare the social justice warriors.
Can't you see this is a land of delusion?
They are desperately pulling at straws now to find anything to criticize about there's even that documentary #Gamer that they were, hoping to make, although it doesn't have much funding.
And that's that was result for Davis's request for another $800. Anyway, so then at the end of the month, Michael requested that I give Davis $1,500 because Davis was flat broke, which means
to make, although it doesn't have much funding.
Give Davis $1,500 because Davis was flat broke.
Because they are shaking in their boots, and I'm absolutely loving it. I really want to show you what we have right now because it's looking great. I'm proud of it, and it is going to be, well, it's already something that I'm proud to put my name on, but it is going to be awesome, folks. I am really looking forward to where this whole thing is headed, but it's looking damned good.
Yeah, sure they're scared. They're scared they might laugh themselves to death. I mean, what the hell are you guys on? This makes that RoboCop 2 thing where they spend millions of dollars to make a robot that shoots a few people and kills itself seem like a sane and rational project. Hell, I gotta be honest, this makes Sarkeesian look proficient. Oh, sure, she might be a royal dumbass. Sure, she might be dishonest as hell and play the victim. But at least she does it well. And you, presented with one of the easiest targets ever. Really, one of the easiest targets ever. Still managed to turn this into the operation, oh, I wonder if the bullets will start tasting differently after I've eaten the first magazine. Now my honest reading of this. I've known Jordan Owen loosely on and off for years, and in my admittedly very limited dealings with the guy, he seemed like a pretty reasonable and honest guy, and I've never had any problems with him at all. And these accusations from Aureni of all these personal embarrassing things, well, so what if he does? Newsflash, lots of good musicians are kind of twitchy like this. In fact, most people who tend to be very good at one thing tend to have issues with others. And that's really not a problem, even if everything of what Aureni is saying is true. However, it must be said that from the very first glance, Aureni just stinks of a 4-star bullshit salesman. I mean, my radar was twitching about the guy for a while, merely on the odd snippet that I'd watched of his, but this just buried the needle.
Believe me, I charge a lot more for editing than $1,500 a month. A lot more than that. And I'm good enough to charge more than that. When the mediator commented to somebody else that Davis is as fast at editing as anybody I know in Hollywood. I know all the keyboard shortcuts. I am very, very quick with editing. Documentaries generally take about 2 years to edit. Nailing this thing down in 6 months, it's because I'm very, very good at what I do, and I'm very fast at editing.
You see, the problem here is I've seen Aureni's editing, and it's gamma rate at best. I mean, let me just show you this.
Okay, so this is Davis's version of the Sarkeesian effect on the timeline. The first thing you'll notice is the sound levels are absolutely all over the place. So let's just take this one as an example.
It's radical feminism and a body of work decrying that upstart gaming industry.
9 is about right.
She was exactly what they were looking for.
In 1971, a community organizer
and it goes straight into the red, right? And let me show you how difficult that is to fix. right? You want to cut in there somewhere, cut in there somewhere. Actually, just do both of them. And then you just drag it down until it's about right. And then you'll find...
In 1971, a community
It's
organized
all
by the
equalised.
Rollins
Well, wasn't that
Book
tough, Davis? So to actually do this for the entire of this segment would take... I'd probably do 2 there. Get that down a bit. I mean, you get the idea that this would take literally sort of seconds to sort the whole thing out. You know, you need to do this a little more precisely, but you get the idea that to actually to make this into something more sensible would take fully seconds. And Davis has been working on this for 6 months. And it's not something, I strongly suspect he doesn't know how to do it, because this is like the early Sarkeesian promo, where it jumps from something sensible, to like deafening.
Continue to keep myself and Jordan informed with it.
And it's like, Jesus, dude. I mean, this is like really the most basic level of editing.
There. And we can get our voices heard. Thank you.
There we go, fixed.
When your editing skills can't roughly get the sound levels correct, telling everyone how fantastic you are, brother, don't piss on me and tell me it's raining. Likewise, all of Orini's talk about this taking months is bullshit. All you gotta do is watch the video and pull out the good bits, and that takes a couple of days. But this is a documentary. There are relatively few cuts and relatively few special effects. Editing really isn't that big of a deal here, which for me I would reckon maybe if I was taking my time over this, 1 week to watch all of the footage and about 2 weeks to chop it up and make it into something sensible. And Orini's been working on this for about 9 months. Yeah, Orini, the films are usually expensive to make because you've got to hire someone with the skills to edit film.
Movies cost money. It's that bloody simple. The work that goes into it. First, you have to take all of the footage and align it correctly. Get the 2 cameras lined up with one another along with the audio track beneath of it.
Yeah, because that's such terribly hard work, Davis. Right, so here I've got the interview that I did for the Sarkeesian effect. So I've got 2 camera angles. One's a distance camera angle, one's a near camera angle, and what do you know? Someone knows how to white balance a camera. Anyway, what you'll find is because the cameras will start at slightly different times, the audio doesn't quite sync up. So you just got to find something where you can, actually that's not too bad, there, right? So there's a little knobble there, and you just got to align the audio.
It's fine, use whatever you want, it's all cool.
Everyone frame
It's fine, use whatever you want.
There we go. Cool. And this is decent audio from the radio mic.
It's fine, use whatever you want, it's all cool.
There we go, right? And after that,
actually addresses these issues.
you can just switch between one camera angle and the other.
And I think there's
Shush. So after that, we can just switch between one camera angle and the other. Wow, Davis, this editing is it's terribly complicated stuff. Munchkin.
Oddly enough though, if you're going to have some broke bum who lacks even the simplest of editing skills, seems kind of inappropriate to pay him what you would a real video editor. I mean, let me just give you an example. This was the conjunction of Venus and Jupiter, and I had to do an animation like this to go with it. And that animation had to be done on the same day. And it looks like this. And it took maybe an hour to put this together. And there's maybe 6 tracks of video and lots of keyframes in there and all sorts. Now let's take a look at Orini. I'm very good at editing timelines. Wow, Orini. 3 whole video tracks. Well, aren't you the Hollywood grade editor? Yeah, pretty much the only other person I know who would be proud of a timeline like that is Anita Sarkeesian. Look, I consider myself to be merely a mediocre video editor, And this is what the timeline for this video looks like. And this is a nothing sophisticated type video. But of course Davis has made films before. I mean, let's take a look at this amazing fight scene which he edited.
It's the luxury that makes us cruel.
I think Davis might have misunderstood the idea of the use of weapons. They're traditionally used to try and hit your opponent. But not in the world of I'm as good as anyone in Hollywood. Davis, it's not. He statically holds his side as this sort of metal rod martial art weapon, and he just holds it out in front of him, while the ninja opponent furiously hits this metal bar for no apparent reason whatsoever. Or let me put it another way. Aurini would be in no danger whatsoever if he wasn't even holding a weapon. You know, because all of the ninja assassin's blows would fall a whole meter short of the target. But stepping back from Aurini's delusions of grandeur, then there is just this really nasty personal stuff.
As such, we will not be using this documentary as an opportunity for sophomoric juvenile insults or other petty behavior.
This is going to be a serious work of investigative journalism. What you've seen so far is only 10% of the story. We have information, leads, and sources that need to be followed up on. And this time around, we don't want to get swept under the rug like all the other damning revelations about Miss Sarkeesian and her cohorts.
That if you go watch Anita's True Blood video, you can see a hint of what he's talking about. Well, we watched that video, and Davis, based on that footage, came to the conclusion that Anita had been raped by her father, based on just that video.
This is going to be a serious work of investigative journalism. Not a lowbrow attack on Sarkeesian and her cohorts.
Oh, and I should clarify something. He said that I believe that Anita Sarkeesian was molested by her father. That's completely misconstruing what I said.
If it's not relevant to their actions as video game journalists, as game developers, then it is not going to be reported. That is private information, and personal privacy is very important to us. We will only be reporting the details that are significant to their behaviors in the public sphere.
I walk up on them as he's standing there telling my friend, basically, we think she was raped by her father.
Unless you got a bloody good reason for doing it, hiring a PI to go through someone's trash looks more like a witch hunt than an objective investigation.
And I tell you, one of the best things about bringing Michael on was as soon as he, surveyed the project, looked at everything, sat down with him in a bar, he said, all right, you know what you need to do? First of all, you need to find some people that know Anita Sarkeesian, knew her growing up, because these people this isn't her first rodeo. Okay, feminist frequency is not her first rodeo. And we have a lot of hints. And he says, maybe you need to hire a private investigator.
But what's the point anyway? Her on-the-record behaviours and arguments are a goldmine.
In other words, viewing media that frames women as objects or sexual playthings profoundly impacts how real-life women are perceived and treated in the world around us. We must remember that games don't just entertain. Intentional or not, they always express a set of values and present us with concepts of normalcy.
Even if you're right, and that Anita has this long, sleazy history, what you're telling me is you're in post-production now. You've gone and got all the footage, and now you're editing together. And you're thinking, this looks kind of thin. Maybe we need to go through her garbage to try and beef this up a bit.
So $5,000 for that. $5,000 for private investigator fees. These guys are not cheap. And as I've said, there's a lot of loose threads behind all of this. We need more information.
Well, we'd need some evidence to support that. So whether it exists or not, I know I can find it.
But seriously, to get a PI to dig through her personal life because you're convinced that she's done something wrong and you need it for your documentary, It might not technically be against the law, but shit, dudes, it's pretty hard to claim you're the good guys when you're reduced to tactics like that against someone who is a goldmine of saying stupid shit in the name of feminism.
While it may be comforting to think that we all have a personal force field protecting us from outside influences, this is simply not the case. Scholars sometimes refer to this type of denial as the third-person effect, which is the tendency for people to believe that they are personally immune to media's effects, even if others may be influenced or manipulated. Paradoxically, and somewhat ironically, those who most strongly believe that media is just harmless entertainment are also the ones most likely to uncritically internalize harmful media messages. In short, the more you think you cannot be affected, the more likely you are to be affected. The belief that women are somehow a naturally weaker gender is a deeply ingrained socially constructed myth, which of course is completely false.
Everything is sexist, everything is racist, everything is homophobic, and you have to point it all out.
Indeed, you've got to give Owen credit here. He seems to be 100% on board that this would be really douchey.
I walk up on them as he's standing there telling my friend, basically, we think she was raped by her father. And his thing was to go find like an expert witness that will, shrink of some kind that'll look at the footage and say, yes, I agree. And of course, any shrink that would actually say that based on one video is a complete quack. But anyway, that idea has been put to bed, but that was one of the many ideas that Davis wanted to do for this movie. And by the way, for the record, I have no reason to think that Anita Sarkeesian was raped by her father, and I sincerely hope she wasn't. Anita, if you should see this, please rest assured the documentary will not have any of that in any way, shape, or form, nor am I suggesting that there is any truth to it at all, and I sincerely hope there is not.
And also, in Orini's edit of the film, it states exactly this, that this is the sort of witch hunt thing that the Klan would do.
The tactics they use right now, like going for people's jobs and sniffing out information on them and all that, those are the same tactics the Klan used back in 1955.
And then, just when you think it can't get any worse.
They've been calling us misogynists and fascists. So, first of all, there was no German plan to exterminate the Jews.
If you talk to someone who is seriously, one of your hardline white supremacists, if you will, the neo-Nazis and that sort of thing, they don't consider Armenians, Italians, Jews and that sort of thing. They don't consider those groups that would generally identify as Caucasian. They don't consider them white.
They've been calling us misogynists.
But I thought, reflecting upon it, that it would be worth addressing the difference between sluts and whores. Because I actually have nothing against whores. Whores don't bother me in the least. They're honest people. It's the sluts that I find so offensive, so reprehensible. And so in discussing sluts versus whores, I would start with the premise that all women are whores.
And yet, trying to meet women, trying to talk to them, they have the bitchiest, the most foul attitude in the world.
She's gone above and beyond what would naturally occur to get as white as she is now.
This is not a small group of women. This is not a minority. Oh, I'm approaching the wrong women. No. This is the majority of women nowadays.
So notice that she's learned to smile like a white person. If you look
at... that's a big wide mouth grin?
She gets to slut about with the jerks and the creatures, and not alpha males, not even close. The omega degenerate sneaky male, the criminal male, or the Muslim terrorists. They're out marrying these guys and ignoring the decent, intelligent, accomplished, masculine males.
The candid pictures that John took of her and that kind of thing, she's still in her unguarded moments when she's not on camera, we're not doing the presentation thing, she still smiles that way. She still has that more ethnic look to her smile. Then when she gets on camera, she does a perfect kind of white person imitation.
You take anybody talking sense, anybody talking about free market economics, anybody talking about traditionalism or ethics and virtue and culture, and you paint them to be the monsters because you just need monsters to hate, don't you? Because if you don't have a monster to hate, you might look in the goddamn mirror and see yourself.
That is a true Shakespearean comedy, in my eyes.
And believe me, I could just go on and on and on with this stuff. It's just endless fail. But I think you get the point. Yeah, if you hang out with garbage, eventually you're gonna start to smell. And I just want to make it clear that, yep, I gave them an interview on their happy-go-lucky reasoning that I didn't know that much about them, but whatever if their aspirations outstripped their ability. Kudos to them for at least trying.
Excellent. So, very last thing, look straight into your camera, one that's straight on at you, and if you could say anything to Anita Sarkeesian, what would it be?
It's an interesting question. I think the prime thing that I would like to say to her is why, if you sincerely believe, as the Feminist Frequency team have said, that they believe that video games cause violence and that they influence people's behavior, why, when it became time for them to propose a video game concept, did it require for the protagonist to kill and violently assault men?
But damn, having seen how hard this has failed, I just want to make it clear that I want nothing to do with this. Now, let me just add, I've seen Orini's edit that he released, and it was okay. Nothing beyond a sort of long, unfinished YouTube video with more interviews. And maybe, just maybe, they'll pull something great out of the bag here. So something that's so amazing that people will forget about who made it. You know, kind of like people can forgive Tom Cruise for being a weirdo Scientologist because he makes damn good movies. A lot of sins can be forgiven for delivering the goods. But at this point, the only thing that's going to convince me of that is the goods themselves, and not the empty, vain promises of a production which has been farcical from almost the first day.
We're going to create a high-quality product that will go down in the annals of history as a high-quality documentary that, with any luck, changes the world.
Had then turned it into another Transformers movie. So, brief background. Jordan Owen is a musician, went to a fairly prestigious music school, and he was going to be the producer.
This ultimate response to the social justice warrior agenda will be a groundbreaking work of investigative journalism.
And then there's Davis Orini, who claimed to be as good a video editor as anyone in Hollywood.
When the mediator commented to somebody else that Davis is as fast at editing as anybody I know in Hollywood. I know all the keyboard shortcuts. I am very, very quick with editing.
And he was meant to be directing the film and doing the editing.
But Jordan and I, we already make high-quality YouTube videos. With this project, we're taking it to the next level. We're going to be traveling all over the US and Canada. We are going to be doing proper investigative journalism. We're going to create a high-quality product that will go down in the annals of history as a high-quality documentary that, with any luck, changes the world.
And between them, they made Owen Orini Productions. And with $15,000 a month, they were going to make the Sarkeesian Effect documentary. This is their story. Coming this summer, a plucky duo with a story about friendship.
Jordan and I represent a wide range of views. Nonetheless, we're good friends.
From two people, where each one says the other cannot make the movie.
Between us and our team, we have the requisite skills to put together a really good documentary.
I am intimidated by this project. There is no chance in hell that Owen can pull this together.
Davis cannot deliver a high-quality production to you.
And they're bestest of friends who can tolerate differences of opinion.
Quite frankly, we disagree on almost every hot-button topic that there is. Nonetheless, we're good friends.
Until one compares the other to a wannabe mass murderer of women.
Go watch Jordan's video on Rooch. It's an hour long and it's very tedious. but you'll see these occasional glimpses of Elliot Rodger. And in December, this kind of spilled over. He wound up going completely Elliot Rodgers as I was driving him to the airport.
The other calls him a blackmailer, causing them to break up.
He threatened me with blackmail and extortion. He demanded that I send him $4,000 in exchange for his silence.
Because that's what you do when someone absconds with all the cash and goes full Macintosh.
And then a few weeks later, absconded with all the money and told me I'm fired. Basically, he went full Macintosh.
You know, when a guy cracks like that, when he goes full Macintosh, I don't think there's anything you can do.
We're going to create a high-quality product that will go down in the annals of history.
Oh my goodness, oh my gosh, I think we've gone full Macintosh.
And all while you're threatening to sue the other guy.
By the way, Davis, who do you think, and I'm sorry to get a bit emotional, but anyway, who do you think helped me draft that cease and desist letter that you got back in March? Michael was originally helping me get set to sue you.
And if no one else is going to do it, you're going to have to sue each other.
I could arguably take him to court and deny him the ability to do anything with the footage because we were in a binding contract, and he, not only is he smearing my character and lying about me, he's also breaking the contract that we had as business partners.
If, as Michael suggests, we need to raise a war chest in the event that we're sued, I think the backers and more Gamergaters as well will be willing to chip in for that.
Then after only about a week of comparing each other to serial killers and threatening to sue each other, they're bestest of buddies again.
Good news, everybody. Owenarini Productions is back in business.
Along with the presence of the mediator.
It's that time we've got a mediator.
Mediator, Michael.
The mediator
who is on board to ensure that such a breakup doesn't happen again, only for the production to break up a couple of months later. And the animator, who is bloody brilliant until he's utterly crap.
And the third guy we have is the animator. But this guy's doing some pretty bloody good work so far. And I think it's been $4,500 that we've paid the artist. And for that, all we have to show for it?
Ladies and gentlemen, I give to you the future of documentaries, the Sarkeesian effect.
Stop or I'll shoot.
Yeah, you couldn't have scripted such a tragic fail if you'd wanted to. I mean, this is getting on the Darwin level awards of fail.
I would start with the premise that all women are whores.
And yet, trying to meet women, trying to talk to them, they have the bitchiest, the most foul attitude in the world.
Seriously, even if Shakespeare himself had come back from the grave to pen this, he would have struggled to compose such a tragedy of fail. Even if Michael Bay